Okay, we now welcome on a very, very, very special guest. Long time coming. It is the Schwam, Boomer, Chris Berman. We're very, very excited for this. This has been, like I said, a long time coming. An honor for us. I was thinking about it because I'm actually nervous for this interview. We've done a lot of interviews. We don't want to mess this one up. So I was like, what can
I'll do it for you.
Yeah, what could I start with, though? Like, oh, hey, Schwam, tell us about 1979. I figured maybe an icebreaker. If you have the wallet, we could just start with the wallet.
I want to start with
that. Yeah, let's start with the wallet.
You got to understand, first of all, good, nice to be with you fellas. This has been a long time coming, and I appreciate I'll show you the wallet in a minute, but you don't get it right away. I appreciate really the respect that you've shown me, and I didn't know it so much in 16, 17, 18, but the time has gone on, and I don't know what I've done to deserve it. But in just playing back, and Derek and Josh, our PR mavens, sent me like the last 6 weeks so I could hear the fastest 2 minutes. Yeah. I'm going to give you two, and they're like throwaway lines. They're not no one circles the way. I get it. And then all the, I should have started the answer with a whoop, and then you're set, right? But
we'll do some whoops.
Yeah. No, okay.
Yeah, I have many questions about
there were two of them. One was when the Jags lost to. Or they won, but they still clinched the number one overall draft pick, as first reported by Adam Schefter.
Yeah. Yes.
I lost it. That's like a throwaway. It was like, okay, that's funny. And then Chris Boswell with the Steelers. I don't know if you used it before. Chris kicked a field goal, or Chris Boswell, New Mexico, the UFO, like. These guys this is another level here.
Well, here's what I'll say, because this is out of respect for you. And reading everything, your nicknames would always be spur of the moment, like pop in your head.
Pretty much.
It takes us a while to do those, so that shows how hard it is to do and how good you are at it. Because we sit there every Sunday night for about an hour and a half going through all the games. And everything I've read about you, it's like if the nickname comes in 30 seconds, it's there. If not, we go to the next guy.
Pretty much.
That's incredible.
Back in the day in baseball, I would do the 2:30 in the morning show. And so you'd see a name in the box score or whatever, like, okay, what can I, but you don't sit there. Usually they might have to have like one beer, not on a work day, but like, okay, one. But if it doesn't, or let's say if you guys wrote in, or threw me a couple, or guys on the crew, or women on the crew. Hey, what about if I laugh? Well, it's good to have ghost written. So here it is. This is really slimmed down. This is nothing.
It looked like you went on a diet.
Well,
what happened?
You had a bad week in gambling last week.
I'm supposed to say it, right?
You lost some money on the Niners.
It's a new program. Yeah. But no, this is it's well oiled, but no, this is like
that's a full snake.
Half, if not a third of what it was. But this is you got to understand. I used to have cards of everybody in here, but this is pre-internet, pre-phone. So I had commissioners, senators, everyone was in here.
It's the Schwam. That wallet is the Schwam.
Can I hold it?
This
one.
It's a full snake. It's a full snake that it took to make.
There's a few 50s in there. Go ahead and take it.
It's got some heft to it.
But
it's not. That's nice.
I'm telling you, dieting. Well, there you go. That'll cost you 2 Hawaiian.
When you pulled it out in 60 minutes, though, one of the funniest things.
I didn't know that was happening. And it's like, one time I was on Leno and I forgot it was because I didn't want to leave it in the back. It's in my side pocket, just like, it's huge, right? And that was the side being interviewed on. I was like, I looked at it later, like, are you kidding? Looked like I had like a 20-pound weight in there. But there's your wallet. So
I love
came
it.
all the way to Connecticut to see the wallet. Now, I will
interview
give
over.
one thing and then I'll be done. So nicknames.
Okay.
So our maven, Josh over here, has started, Big Cat, so Galarraga.
Yep.
Maybe others have called you that. I don't know. But when he played, of course, came up with Montreal, as so many of them did. What a great farm. So I started calling him Le Grand Chat, which is the big cat.
Ooh.
And he liked it. I don't know how much French he knew growing up, but in Montreal, Le Grand Chat. So if you're Le Grand Chat, now I've got to do something French also. It's not a direct translation, but Le Raconteur. I mean, it's not a comment,
I like that.
but it's a storyteller. It's a purveyor of information. So Le Grand Chat, Le Raconteur. You didn't know we were doing French.
I
like
did not. Je t'aime. Is that French?
Yeah.
Did I just tell you that I loved you?
You did, but it's
Oh,
okay.
that's a Freudian
It's your Le
slip.
Raconteur. You can say whatever you want.
Amazing.
Speaking of the nicknames, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but we're friends with Booger. We love Boog.
Oh,
He's come on
the
the
best.
show several times.
Has he?
Me all the time.
Makes
for
fun
being
of Big
fat.
Cat's
Yeah.
weight. He's in a bicycle gang with me. And we decided one time we're going to try to incept you with a nickname because he watches the games with you sometimes on Sundays,
All the
right?
time. We watch all of them.
So we tried to figure how can we get inside Chris Berman's head? What is a nickname that we can throw out that he might actually pick up on? So we told him that the first time Jalen Hurts threw a touchdown, he should say, "Hurts so good." And it made it to the air, and you said it.
Of course.
That was from us via Booger, our gift to you on the air.
And we loved it. We used it.
You probably would have gotten there on your own.
Yeah.
Because it felt like the Cougar, that's right up Boomer's alley.
Yeah, oh, I mean, John Cougar Melon Ball. Yeah, I mean, that's a great song. But then later on, like playoff game, it Love Hurts. That was Nazareth. I'm going back. I mean, again, a lot of these are predating you guys.
Oh,
but they're on
we
the
know
radio.
a lot of the songs. We know
They're
a
on the
lot
radio.
of yeah. So
So thank you for that.
Hey, no, the honor was all ours.
Hurts so good.
Yeah.
He had a few games. They got into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think he's
nice
a
little
fine
run.
quarterback.
Yeah.
I think when he's playing within the system that they've got there, he can be good.
Okay.
yeah,
Did you see him dodge the stands falling apart at FedEx Field though?
Yes.
That showed me composure.
Not only
he almost
composure,
got hit.
but a sense of where the rush is coming from.
yes, absolutely. He knew exactly where it was coming. So I was reading before we sat down with you. Right, I knew the nicknames. I knew everything. I didn't realize the story, and I don't know how often you told it, that the nicknames almost went away for a little bit.
Oh, they did.
You had a producer who said, cut it with the nicknames. And then George Brett saved it. Can you tell that story?
Yeah,
It's incredible.
Well, so in the early days, look, when I mean, again, a lot of your viewers, listeners, and you have a million or what, nobody imagines your age group, even in your 40s, that, cable TV, I'm going to pay $20 for 36 channels. Why would I do that? I have to sleep. We didn't even have tape machines then, right? You have to sleep. You have to eat. You got to go to work. How could I? At any rate. So who knows who's watching? My first 4 years, I did The Late Show, which was 2:30 a.m. It's 11:30 in California, and it's 8:30 in Hawaii. So a lot of people watching.
Yep.
My friends, and at the time, and I don't care if you're up late, even if that's your regular deal. Stuff just comes out, right? So a couple came out from back in college at Brown. Like, this is only 4 years later. I'm on TV, or 3. And
What was the first one?
it was either Frank Tanana Daiquiri
Yep.
or very good pitcher, really good pitcher, and John Mayberry, really good hitter, RFD. And I said one or two of them, or maybe both, in a segment, because they're both in the American League at the time, California. Play. And we go to a break, and I get in my ear, what was that? Now, that's not where you were going.
Yeah.
They just came out. It wasn't a plan. It just came out. It's 2:45 in the morning. Frank Tanana Daiquiri. I've been calling him that for 4 years, just not on national TV. And although it's 3, it's late. It was okay. Nobody got hurt. And the cameramen laughed. And so the next night or two, we did a few more. At any rate, now we go about 5 years. And I probably have 800 of them because it's baseball. You try to embellish a little bit because it's every night and not all the games were video. A lot of them was Kansas City 5, Seattle 3 for 30 seconds.
Jeez.
Okay, so don't make jokes and take information away. Don't do that. But if I'm going to say Frank Tanana Daiquiri struck out 13, it cost me a half a second.
Right.
It didn't, hey, here's a funny joke. Well, no, tell me about the game, please. See, so it was okay. So we had a new executive producer, high up, name, it doesn't matter anymore. Like early September in '85, when no, you can't use him anymore. I've been doing it for 5 years. Like, whoa. Everybody likes him. Well, we're trying to. He had no real reason. Probably it wasn't his idea, which is usually the way it goes, right? Well, what do you mean? Like, no, you got to stop. There's 3 weeks left in the season. First of all, if he's any smart, you do it in November. Maybe nobody knows, and then they don't come back.
Right.
So okay, so that's about 3 weeks. I'm telling a little too long a story. But the only way I could have my own fun was Mookie Wilson, then was William Wilson, and Sparky Anderson was manager of the Texans with George Anderson, and Whitey Herzog, I called him Durrell Herzog.
So you cut all the nicknames, even the ones that were
no,
yours.
he didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, right. I like a silent protest.
Durrell Herzog. Who's that? He manages the Cardinals.
He said no nicknames.
I'm just doing what you told me to do.
Even Babe Ruth once I called the George. So, but whatever. That's my own. He didn't know. So the Royals, George Brett is a great friend of mine, and he loved the nicknames. That's how we met. And Game 1 of the ALCS, remember, there's only West and the East. They played Toronto, I think, and George Graham was covering it. And George Brett he's George Brett, right? And here are the Royals. And so there's 30 people, and our George Graham, wonderful person, one a great professional, great friend, said, George, can I get, and of course, at ESPN, I get it. But wait, are we rolling? Yeah. But wait a minute. What's the story with my man not being able to use his nicknames? Well, these are all the baseball writers. It wasn't out there. There was no decree. It's 1985. And a couple of the TV writers were there. Because this is George Brett. Like, if you're going to interview a Royal, it's George Brett. Right? And by the way, they won the World Series that year. But he said, I'll do the interview, but this is BS. I mean,
you can swear. It's bullshit.
Well, no. This is George Brett.
Yeah.
And, of course, our management thought I put him up to it, or thought George Graham was involved. No, I didn't. The next April, they were back, and he was gone.
There you go.
He fought the law, and the law won.
It's just.
I'm sorry.
It's an incredible story.
It's
that
innocuous.
George Brett, and
it's innocuous.
That also speaks to your relationship with guys, and being able to be in the media, but also be friends with some of these guys. And it was like, I just read that story. I was like, George Brett saved Boomer and the Schwam. He did it.
Well, he saved the nickname.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't try. He was pissed.
Yeah, he was mad.
This is game 1 of the. It's like, don't worry about that. Worry about what the starting pitcher for Dave Stieb or whoever was going to throw. No, he was more PO'd about that.
Because he was mad he also didn't have a nickname, right, when you first met him.
Correct. He goes, how come we don't have a lot of nicknames, the Royals? George, are you kidding me? He stuck out his head. George Brett, how come the Royals don't have a lot of? I mean, I don't know, George. Like, I can't call you Wonder Brett. You've been established too long. I'm not going to go halfway through your career, Johnny Bench. Now I'm calling him Park Bench. No, too late.
Right.
So, and Quisenberry is hard to get, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. And then he said, what's your nickname? I said, well, not really, because you'll have one after the game. It was a pennant game. It was like the last week of a season in '82. He had the winning hit. And here's again, interview in the locker room. He's describing the pit. Well, it was low and away. He goes, there he is, Ethel Merman Berman. Like, you just played like a big game. Like, who cares? Uh-huh. He's my guy.
Amazing.
So, he's my guy.
How did you get the name Boomer?
Okay, that's and my first year, late, a man that became a legend at our place, who became the head of all the technical, named Chuck Pagano, local boy here in Waterbury, Connecticut, who became executive VP just because he worked hard and did his job. He goes, God, you're deep voice too. You're loud on these highlights. We're going to call you the Boomer. Like, that came from a coworker, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it stuck. And, we've had arguments, Esiason, David Wells, et cetera, which is the bigger Boomer, keep me out of that. But so it came from a coworker who worked the overnight shift with me, and it stuck. Like in the early days, maybe even in your world, your first 3-4, something really worked, you weren't planning on it, you go with it.
Yeah.
And it stuck.
Yeah. What about the Schwam?
Well, that was mine. I love the Schwam. I'm picking games. Well, so now it's 1979. I start October 79. Was football season. I do the late. It's a sign-off the first 6 months. Like, good night. Well, maybe not Friday night. That we went neither here nor there. I said, I'm going to pick 5 games. against the spread, although you just said things like, it'll be closer than expected. You didn't. I mean, this is 1979, 1980, 81. There's all sorts of ways. They're going to win much more handily than you think. I mean, duh. What am I telling you? And I put the score up.
Oh, yeah.
Always put the score up. So you could figure. And it was never right on. It was always at least a field goal one way or the other.
Right.
So I left no doubt as to what I was picking, and then I gave the record with spread.
It would have the little thing next to it. Because I remember as a kid being like, wait, he just picked like the Cowboys, but why is the thing next
the 49ers,
to
they're
the
gonna
Dolphins?
cover.
Like what? And I always loved the
error.
scores. The scores. Like, you're the only guy that would be like, all right, Cowboys are going to beat the Niners 19-11. Like, what? Where's that score?
Or a defensive game, I go 3-2.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to bet the under necessarily. It's just 3-2.
It's 3-2.
Yeah.
Or one I had, I don't know, like 74-70. Like just
You know what to
doing it.
do.
Like you get the point, right? Like that's not
But
the.
it's a wink without hitting you over the head with it, which
Yeah.
I think sometimes the audience feels like they're involved in. They have an inside joke with you, something that's understood,
Right.
but you're not explicitly telling them, which in turn will make the audience like you more because it's like, oh, I identify with this guy. We speak the same language.
Wasn't doing it with that in mind, but I think that's true. And another thing behind the scenes, I mean, we're primitive technically. I mean, and not only 79, but even 82, 83. I told audio, I told Chiron, we called it, which is the graphics, you have fun in this segment. And we did it live too. So Tampa Bay, put them in orange. Oh, it's not our format. Like we put them in orange. We're picking the 49ers, put them in red. That was like a big deal for the person doing graphics. Mm-hmm. Put me in reverb, when I come to this game, which was, you don't do that. Like it sounds like a complete mistake. But
Right.
when I go pick this wild upset, do that. So the audio guy would fire. It's just 3:00 in the morning on a Friday. And they're involved. And a couple times I'd have the camera like move, like wave it around. Well, we're not really supposed to do that. But this is our segment. And so everybody, my guys and ladies who we're working with, we all felt involved. And I felt that was, and the viewers, obviously.
Yeah, and it's I mean the one thing that I think that you're so good at and why people are so drawn to you is that sports are supposed to be fun, and you always had fun, and that's the thing to me is like if the person's having fun, you feel it, and you know that they're enjoying this and they're not taking it too seriously, and that's what comes across.
Don't you believe that? I mean, this is not necessarily where you want to change our jobs. If you're walking down the street and someone's digging a ditch, I'm making it up, whistling and listening to music, let's say has a boom box so you can hear, you might even stop and watch for a couple minutes. Not say, good, I want to be a ditch digger, but okay,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Well,
Geez, it's
give me one
sports. It's
turn.
not brain surgery.
Right.
It's supposed to be fun. Watching sports is fun. Watching people do highlights about sports, that's supposed to be fun too. I think just like the contagious enjoyment that you brought to it influenced everybody else that came up watching it. I think we've gotten away a little bit from that in the last few years too, where people think that sports, it always has to mean something bigger. And while sometimes that's very true, sometimes sports are just like, that's what people use to blow off steam. They want to enjoy themselves. It can be a break from something. And I think sometimes, we have to remind ourselves of that. You're a good inspiration for that. We've always appreciated that about you.
I'm not alone with it, but here's what I would say. So for 2/3 of our career, for example, primetime, let's just do that, not even the baseball sports center. Primetime began in 87. And until like 2005, pick a year, 2008, you saw 3 games.
Yeah.
You live in New York, Chicago, Washington. The Arizona-Seattle game that was 48-45, you might have seen one drop in because it was a 90-yard bomb in the middle of the game you were watching, the Cowboys, right? That's the best game of the day. Here's 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, and do it. This is where they make a mistake now. Everyone assumes, and they are. You hear about, there was a play, and you call it on your phone in 1 second. That's cool. But even at the end of the day, when you know everything, here's a meal. Serve me the whole meal of week 12, for example, or even all the baseball, or pick your sport. Give me the meal and those doing the highlights. I've stayed with this 42.5 years. I am old. I have socks older than you guys. I keep them for floods. But
What about the ties? What's your oldest tie?
oh, ties I got about 300. You know.
When was the last time you bought a new tie, though?
Well, I kept buying them up till COVID. Now, then I looked. I went like the one I wore this week. Like, damn, I haven't seen this in 10 years. I love this tie. It's like I forgot it was in there. You know, and so some of them are 80s where. Even a hot color, like just a color like purple or turquoise was woo. You know, I still got those. But
Did a producer ever say like, hey, boom, that tie, like, it's too much?
Well, it can be, but never wore the ridiculous.
Right.
Maybe I'm doing a Giants-Dodgers game and I wear a palm tree tie. It stop.
Right.
But back to the people should not assume that everyone watching has seen the game or the highlights. Therefore, you owe it to the viewer to do them like they're live, even though it says, and it's going to be, and he's going to leap over a tackler. Wait till he jumps and then say it. Don't say it. Hey, he's going to leap over a tackler and score a touchdown. Well, he's still on the 15.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Give it to you, the viewer, like it's happening live, even if it's a game that you've seen. Like a playoff game, we've all watched them, right?
Yeah.
But do it anyway.
So I
do it anyway.
Yeah.
I also grew up watching George Michael and the Sports Machine
Great.
out of DC, and he was an awesome
Great.
broadcaster in his own right. He did it the other way, though. He would always say the result before the highlight.
That's
after.
okay. Result of game is okay. I mean the play.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say he's going to leap over a tackler at the 10 and then score.
Right.
That's what I mean.
right.
Oh, you could. That's okay because that's fine. George was great, as was for highlights. I mean, Cosell is the obvious. They taped him. Our fastest three in the day was live. Like, you could make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Live?
Did you ever screw up real bad?
Live halftime? I mean, I used to have a thing with my director, Jeff Wynn, like, just keep the puck in front of us, And at the end of one, if it was like, I think they got one by us, like.
But it's so true about prime time, and it's hard to explain it now because we're both 37. We grew up in the 90s. We remember prime time was the thing on Sunday night. You sat down, and you're like, I want to watch every highlight. It's hard to explain now to kids who are 25 or younger because they've always had Red Zone.
Right.
But it was it. You would like Sunday night. You sit down, you watch Boom and Tej, and they tell you everything that happened in the NFL on
Great.
Sunday.
I'd watch it. Had nothing to do with us doing it. And Tommy is, like my best friend. I mean, we worked almost 30 years together. We talk every week. He lives in Cincinnati. He's pretty fired up right now. But primetime was a gift that we got to do it, that ESPN got to do it. That then he wasn't the president yet, but at the time, Steve Bornstein said, "I'm doing it." He invented it when ESPN got Sunday night games the last 8 weeks in '87. That was like a big deal. ESPN '87. World Series would be over. It was about Halloween, and then the last 8 weeks was Sunday night. But I didn't invent it. We're inventing this show that we have the right to show as many highlight minutes as we can in that 1 hour. And he also told Pete Rozelle and we're going to throw it, and I got the guy to do it. And that's how it happened. We can't on the Plus show and on the championship and then after the Super Bowl thing, but the regular, because NBC has Sunday night, when they got that in 2006, they have the rights. They could make that show primetime,
Right.
They have the rights to do it. I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't, but they don't. And we can't. Remember, we used to be on, Tommy and me and Trent, like we did it, but we were limited in time. But primetime was, okay, we have commercials. If you can stuff 12 pounds of blanket into a 10-pound bag, just go ahead and do it and run 40 minutes of highlights, say your name, and just roll them.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And it was, I mean, would you say that was getting prime time and that move in 1987 was the biggest, like, thing for your career? And because, like, that was so huge for ESPN, I'd imagine, getting those NFL
biggest
highlights.
Thing we ever did.
Yeah.
The fact that Pete Rozelle, one of the smartest people, I got to know him. He liked me for whatever reason. I think he knew I liked football. Just like I appreciate out of you guys. I like young guys that like football.
Yeah.
That's really that simple.
That's one test. It's
And
like
that's what you guys do.
it's a
You like
Tinder app,
football,
yeah.
you know football, you watch football, and you'll admit, like, hey, I didn't know that. Fine.
I like football.
You
That's
like football. It's not that hard. So
We're friends.
We love football. Yeah, we're good. But so Pete, at any rate, the fact that Cable, this is a big step in 87. But if the NFL rubber stamped it, so the biggest thing for us, to everyone who worked there, we ain't going anywhere now. As a network, we're here. We always thought that. Not always in 81, but by 85, 86, we're doing pretty good. Well, we're here now. And then that show, my favorite thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
How could it not be?
Yeah.
You know, and I was lucky to be in I would watch it as a fan. And why wouldn't you? You want to see what happened in these, even the horrible games. You can't, there's no highlights you could show at on the network, a drop-in of 8 guys squealed pigging the ball, and you don't show that. Well, we do.
Yeah.
You know?
And the music.
Yeah.
The
And
music
then,
is everything.
The natural thing that you would say if somebody was doing the squealed pig play, that would be a whoop situation, wouldn't it?
Yes.
No. The rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, and fumbling would be part of it. The whoop came from Barry Sanders.
Ooh.
Okay.
So that it came as a whoa. There's no other way to describe Barry's. I think his ankles were bionic. Tommy and I both think this because there's no way you could swivel as a human being like this.
Speed.
And so that was the whoop. That was more Barry's moves that come from Barry Sanders.
Uh-huh.
He's the impetus for that. And now it's anybody that kind of does that. Yes, now because the sound, I get stopped all the time, like 15, 20 years. Whoop, like say it. Whoop, they go nuts. But so now I've moved it to the squealed pig thing, but it was started with Barry Sanders. And of course, a Lamar Jackson type of player you would do it with. But that's where it came from, out of respect for Barry.
So what is the secret to a good whoop?
I've
heard you hit somewhere.
It was
it
one on a
bounces off the back
Washington
wall
player,
and
wasn't
comes
it?
back.
Was it McKissick?
Yes.
He left. It was like down at the right somewhere.
It was.
early in the year.
It was against the Falcons.
It was like early October or something.
You let out this whoop that I swear.
Oh, yeah,
you
it
could hear it.
echoed.
It bounced off the back wall of the studio and came back to you.
Yeah.
I heard it twice in the highlight.
I was inspired by his leap. Like he took a 5-yard. It was like someone trying to do the pole vault, in the Olympics. Like you can run a long way to take this leap. It wasn't just a little leap because the tackler went low. I don't even think the tackler went that low. He's a little guy.
Yeah.
So he went. It was like the first. It was at halftime, right?
Yep.
So it was the first real whoop of the season that I could crank out on a halftime play. I do think of that every now and then. Early in the year, let's put more ingredients in it a little bit.
You got to warm up the pipes, right?
Yeah.
You got to warm it up first.
Yeah, it was not the first
You got to
play. It was
prime
like
the
2
pump
minutes
a little
in.
bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do you like open up your chest? Is it from the diaphragm? Is it?
Just like McKissick did. I took a running leap.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, even you doing those little whoops for Barry Sanders, like we do it, but when you do it, it's like, oh yeah, that's.
No,
just
but you're
wrong.
doing it. You like it.
Yeah,
It's
but like
good.
the
It's
way you
public
just
domain.
did that, the
Cat,
little
it's
whoop,
public
whoop,
domain.
whoop, whoop, like it's not the same. It's
public
only
domain.
you.
We also love the Raiders. I try to do the Raiders when we run the scores back. I do it as much as I
You
can.
do a good job. I've heard it.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. But when I do it, I feel like it takes my entire body about 2 minutes to recover from it. I don't know if that's something.
It does. It hurts.
Yeah, it's
Deep. Well, that really is. It's taken on a life of its own. And everybody loves that. And Scott, of course, Van Pelt runs it. I mean, he has my best couple, and he has it on a button. Even if they're not playing, I think he presses it. It was really an ode to Al Davis,
Yeah.
who really liked us. This is Al's voice in the 80s when I met him first couple times. You know why I root for ESPN? Because you're the underdog. Just like that. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And the Raiders. And they were winning all the time then. Of course, you heard him all the Raiders. So that's really an ode to Al. So a lot of these are ode to Barry Al. But the Raiders now, everybody loves the long. That again,
Yep,
that's
great.
That's a Louis Tiant windup. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a Raiders. And I didn't even. I'm
Right, yeah, you're just
I needed
taking batting practice.
I haven't
cash
had
right
a
now.
sip of water in a half an hour. So,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna. So I'll be ready the next time you ask me about the Raiders.
So all right. So the whoop, the Raiders. We got to do circle the wagons because that's. I mean, that picture too of you holding the big Bills jersey.
Well,
And we're honorary members of Bills Mafia. We love
Right
the
on.
city of Buffalo. We love Josh Allen. But there's just something about no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. It just
that team in the late '80s and '90s were. I mean, they never won a Super Bowl, but they only wanted to go to 4 straight. So say no more. And it's Hall of Famers, and obviously Jim Kelly and Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith, and they may have others. And Cornelius Bennett was a great player. We could go on Marv Levy's in the Hall of Fame. Bill Pulley, one of the great executives of all times, in the Hall of Fame. Ralph Wilson, the owners in the Hall of Fame. I mean, and it's Buffalo.
right.
It's other than Green Bay, it's about the smallest now. I mean, it's the Bills, and this is the city in Western New York. They asked for nothing. I started picking them in '88. They were horrible for the whole decade. They thought I was out of my mind. They started 4-0, and I got to the championship game and lost to the Bengals. I actually thought these Bengals, except they've now gone to the Super Bowl, reminded me of the '88 Bills. Like I wasn't sure they were going to get past Kansas City, but they've already announced we're here for a while. Like we're really good.
Yeah.
I actually said that. So I forget what game it was, and I just cranked it out on prime time. No one, looking right in the camera. Like, no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, and it became a war chant. Even the years they were terrible. I mean, up until Josh here and Coach McDermott, et cetera. Not a lot of great.
Right.
But it just became so much fun. And I don't want to do this, but I guess I will tell the story since you brought it up. So if you're a rock and roll singer, let's say, because I saw Billy Joel in Fenway, and then you're singing Piano Man, and everybody knows the words, right? He played at Wrigley. He played all these places, any arena. And you get halfway through, and then you lay out, and you hear, if you're Billy Joel, hear them sing every word. And he's like, oh my God. Like this is. So when Thurman Thomas had his number retired, it was only about 4 years ago. It was on a Monday night, and they asked me, Thurman, would I come up, and the Bills, it's a quick, I'm going to speak real quick. Someone else is going to say something for a minute. Thurman's going to speak. It's halftime. And I got up for 20 seconds. I mean, again, the place is packed. They're playing the Patriots when the Patriots still beat them a lot. They played well that night, Buffalo. They weren't ready yet, I think Josh was a rookie. Okay, so I think, yeah, he was. And I said, okay, Buffalo, you know where we're going here. We're doing it on 3. And like this, and there's 70,000. I went, no one. And then I stopped. And I heard, circles the wagons, like the Buffalo Bills. Wow. That's Billy Joel singing Piano Man.
Incredible,
It was really, my relationship, in my 43 years, the relationship that I've ended up by accident because I'm on ESPN and the Bills and it's Buffalo and the players, the team, the organization, the players, and the city 30 years later. It's the most rewarding relationship I've gotten through my job.
They're great people.
Yeah,
They're great people.
we've experienced
They
something
ask
similar.
nothing. They ask for nothing.
Yeah, every time we go, it's like this place. They're just
Right.
so nice to us. So you did do. I have to ask the 7-year stretch. The Schwam predicted the Niners versus Bills, and for people who don't they're like, oh, he was just putting on 7 years in a row. Either the Niners or the Bills went to the Super Bowl, and you predicted Niners Bills every year to begin the season. You were so close a couple times.
Close this year.
You're close this year.
I mean, I hadn't really thought of it.
It's gotta
hey,
happen.
you could get it.
Yeah, the
I
Schwam
picked them
Bowl.
12 years in a row. And here's part. Well, I'm loyal. I'm a Taurus too, so I'm loyal and I'm stubborn. But the Niners were my relationship professionally in the '80s, and I can call a lot of those guys. Obviously, the same with the Bills. So when the Bills got good, '88, I started it then. I did 12 years around. The first 7, one or the other. Never the same time. There was always Alvin
Giants,
Harper
yeah.
running a slant at Candlestick. There was always, 89, the Bills kind of they had the bickering Bills, and they didn't make it. But we were close so many. We were close so many times. I have one of the balls. They used to send us the balls, the 4 possible the team matchups for our championship Sunday countdown. Actually, the one I saved was 92. That was the one that was going to happen. Actually, that was the Frank Reich year. They almost lost. But then the Niners, Dallas was up and coming, but not really yet. And Aikman hit Alvin Harper on like a 70-yard slant post. And I have that ball. I bring it out every now and then,
That's amazing.
Bills versus Niners Super Bowl at the Rose Bowl.
Can we go back just a little bit to before you even became a broadcaster? Because I read that you were a history major in college.
Brown, yeah.
At
Interesting.
Brown, right?
Yep. I like it.
So
yes.
what inspired you? Like, why did you decide to study history? And then what made you change into, pursuing broadcasting as a full-time gig?
Well, Abe Lincoln wasn't a good football player, so I had to move on. That's the funny answer.
But
although he probably could have been.
You have interviewed presidents too.
Probably great tight end in the red zone.
Well, Abe, post a tight end just throwing the ball. He was good. No. So to answer your question seriously, Brown. So a little different in the '70s. Brown had a really good. I always wanted to do this, Le Raconteur. I always wanted to do this professionally. I thought it would be cool. But I also didn't, I'm not saying right or wrong, didn't the journalism school, no good. Don't get me wrong. No, I'm fortunate enough to get into Brown. I love history. I'm going to do it. I wrote 40-page papers. I'm a pretty good writer. I mean, I don't mean like as in a novel, but Brown had a really good radio station, 50,000 watts. So back then, it wasn't so much, I'm not going to take a course in it. You do it on your own. Like going to college, anything. I think I want to go into drama. I want to do plays. I want to do this. Do it on your own. If you find you're not spending the time doing it, that's probably not really what you want to do. And I became the voice of Brown, the Bruins football and basketball, et cetera. So it wasn't like a change. I knew history was just doing it while I was there. And so my first job was a little radio station in Rhode Island right out of college for about a year, and then a little less radio station right near here in Waterbury, Connecticut. And then I got on I don't know how, because didn't have the full, but I had you got the 70s mustache,
yeah,
and you have nothing. My hair.
I got the Troy Aikman.
Huh?
I got the Troy Aikman. I'm face bald.
Well,
it's never coming in.
No, but late 70s, I had this, and I had hair to. It's what we look like. Not like I was anything, what are you trying to prove? Well, I'm trying to look like the guy right next to me. So, and I got on TV in Hartford just the weekends, $23 on Saturday night and $23 on Sunday night. Hartford, I'm not talking about Presque Isle, Maine. I'm talking about Hartford. $23 after minimum. Great. And I was on for 3 months. So I'm just 24. I'm kind of ahead of the curve a little. I mean, I wasn't really good, but I'm on.
It's not bad. You're doing
I'm on.
Hartford. That's a decent sized market.
I'm on. Well, only because they didn't. The second job was where the UHF station. We didn't have a full-time second gig, so they just needed somebody to come in on Saturday and Sunday night. I'm your guy. And then ESPN was just starting, and I said, I'm not even going to send you a tape, and I'm pretty raw, but go look. And I mean, I know that's not the question you asked me, but it was. I always knew I wanted to do it. I love doing history. I set out to see if it would work. And then we got on ESPN in October 1st, 1979 with 3 months. Had ESPN been 3 years in existence, not 10, 3 years, never would have hired me. Not on that experience. Mm-hmm. No way.
So as we were getting ESPN off the ground, how close did it come to failing right off the bat? Were there ever any times where you were like, I don't know if this concept can work?
You mean the ESPN as a concept?
Yeah.
Well, I was too young to worry about that. So, but to answer your question, because I've certainly had a lot of time in retrospect to think about it. We had Getty Oil was our benefactor, and how that came together, LA-ish, I don't know, but they were making money, and they were in it we knew they'd give us a couple of years. That none of this trickled down to me. I mean, look, I'm going home at 3:45 in the morning. You know, they didn't get me on the hot phone and say, "Well, what do you think? What do you think we should tell our investors tomorrow?"
Right.
I wasn't in that loop, but a year in, I thought, this is a good idea. Who knows if cable's going to do this, which we didn't know. And who knows if we're going to do this, which we didn't know. But I think there's people, just for us, there are people out there, well, here, you're two of them. There are people out there like me, because I'm running into people more on the West Coast like, hey, you're the late guy. Not ad nauseum, but people are watching, and people don't all work 9 to 5. Not that they ever did, but now we're in the 80s. The restaurant people, they come home at 12. I don't mean out of a bender or anything. Just, I'm putting something on for 2 hours. It's great.
Yep.
And you realize that there's all sorts of folks who are like us that aren't 9 to 5. They're not asleep at 10 o'clock. So give them a shot. So I thought it was a good idea, but if you're drawing one of those graphs, like we all had in school, or Ross Perot tried to run president on, cable in the 80s was a rocket ship.
Yeah.
But I've said this before, we followed cable's coattails, but they kind of followed ours a little. And CNN I give them the nod at MTV, 79, 80, 82. So now you have sports, you have news, and you have music, and you're checking into a hotel in Portland, Oregon in 1986, and if they had some sort of, you got all three. That's your hometown station, even though you live in Chicago or Washington or wherever you are. Mm-hmm. Oh, I get them here. They're pretty good. So we had a feeling it was a good idea, and cable was like this, so who knew? I didn't have that kind of knowledge to predict that. Not even the Swami could have predicted that cable TV was going to be a rocket ship.
Did anybody ever back the Brinks truck up for you? Anyone
for
ever?
Me?
Yeah, try to get you out?
Yeah. So, comparative Brinks truck. We're still cable, but so we started in 79, 89. So that's 10 years. So NBC came pretty hard. And it was I'm loyal, I wouldn't say to a fault, but I'm loyal as hell, but I don't mind saying I was making great. 150, 160, somewhere in there, not two. They essentially offered 4 times. So this went on for like 5 months. Not bad, because I had about 7 months to go, but this was going to break the mold of what we do. It's the same as real life. Some teams that can't afford it, right? Yeah. Like in baseball, let's say, right?
Right.
Hey, we're cable. Well, we're all right, but I said, Steve Bornstein, basic is, I went to Brown, I can add. Don't fault me for this. It's not but in the end I said, you don't have to match this. You have to get within a 9-iron. And I don't know what that means. Uh-huh. And he's not a golfer. My 9-irons suck, and they did. That was the best decision I ever made. Because, and that's really, I have one other interesting story that is more of a life story. No, I don't tell very often, but so back to that one. We got the NFL in 87. If I went there, I would be waiting to be the NFL guy behind Costas was doing at the time. Well, I'm doing that. And I'm doing it for an audience, and I'm doing it every day. So, and yeah, they had the Olympics, and this NBC, and they had this net. So in the end, you don't have to match. But I can't stay. Yes. So that was the Brinks truck. Other than that, not really. Now here's the interesting one. Chris. As I look back at life, how we look at life and always wonder, if I had done this, or if this had happened, how would my life have gone? I mean, you could do that with your family. You're there. I mean, my wife, there was somebody else, or there was nobody else, or I might have taken that job and we wouldn't have gotten married, whatever it is, right? Even now, I'm talking about life decisions. Mm-hmm. So San Francisco Giants are, of all, they're the number one. 7 years old, Willie Mays. Okay? You don't have to say anymore, right? 1962, He's in the World Series. I'm 7 years old. He's Willie Mays. I grew up in Connecticut. He plays for San Francisco. I'm a Giant fan. And you're a little kid, you know what a Giant is. Like, that's, a Giant, right? It's Willie Mays. Pretty good, right? So that's my goals coming out of college. Pie in the sky. Maybe be Brent Musburger, which I'm not saying I've become, but I had the job. But one was, I'd like to do the Giants. And the owner of the team, that was named Bob Lurie, great guy, still around. I mean, he doesn't own the team, but he's wonderful. San Francisco, upper 80s now, I think. Christmas cards, and I got a call from his office in 88. The Giants are playing the 3 games at the Mets. He'd love to see you for lunch. Okay. And I'd met him. Okay. Well, here's where we're going to meet at the 21 Club. No, 21 Club's already, I don't usually go into New York and have lunch at the 21 Club. I might have it at Katz's Deli. So, or whatever. And he goes, next year, this was new at the time, the team is going to hire the announcers, always the stations. Now it's the team, it's a group thing, but that was a big deal. And I wondered to know if you'd be interested in being our announcer. Oh. Wow. It's like from junior high, if I could announce the Giants and live in San Francisco. Love that city. Whoa. He goes, you don't have to tell me now. And we had a great 2.5 hours. No money was discussed. I mean, wasn't the point. He goes, but call me tomorrow. I'll be at the such and such hotel. I always have lunch in my room or whatever he said. And now I'm conflicted. I don't tell this one that often. So, and it probably would have been not the NBC money, more, and living in San Francisco and, okay, doing your team, and I'm hired by him. So I said, Bob, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. You've come to me a year too late. I can't believe I'm saying it. You've come to me a year too late. I'm Brent Musburger. 2 years later, ESPN ended up getting Major League Baseball, and I asked to do the West Coast games on Tuesday night for a couple of years so I could do a lot of Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you would go on to manage.
But the Brinks truck was backed up, so by not taking the Brinks truck, I had some pull. I'm kidding. And
you got to manage the Giants later on.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, but 1-1 with two springs in a row, if they even have spring training anymore.
Yeah,
they may not this year. I don't know. But at any rate, here's how good a guy he was, because I want to finish the story. I know we're going long, but I've got nowhere to go, and you can run this in April. Pause at the end of the line. He goes, after you telling me what you did yesterday at lunch, this is Bob Lurie, you made the right decision.
Huh.
That's how good a guy he was.
Huh.
He also took less money in selling the team in '93 not to have it move out of town to the Trop, the Giants in the Trop. Really?
Yeah.
Right.
But then that's not a knock on St. Pete. It's just they're the Sanford. I know they were New York, but this is.
Yeah.
But he took less. That's the kind of guy he is. Mm-hmm. Less money. He got plenty, but less money. Because he's a San Francisco guy, and he thought they're a pretty good group, McGowan and that group, and they're going to stay.
So, speaking of San Francisco, we have to bring it up. The Catch. You were there.
You love it.
Is that true? You were there?
You've seen it? We got to run it. It was.
You got the hair.
40 years ago last month.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to run it.
Had to.
No, I ran it again. I mean,
play it again.
I mean, it was. The game itself, there are a lot of turnovers in it. It was not, as far as a pure game like Kansas City Buffalo, where there were no turnovers. Like, I mean, we can get to the football now. I know we're going to get there eventually, or maybe. We got all night, so we can do it. So, and I picked the Niners all year, partly because I'm doing the West Coast show. They were 6-10 the year before.
Yeah.
I was on them every week.
Yeah.
I go out to the championship game. I don't know anybody. They line up to do interviews, like 11 of them. You're the Swami. You pick us every week. I didn't know 2 years in. We have plenty of time for you. And that's everyone, from Joe Montana Wright to, the offensive lineman to Charlie Young, the tight end, and then we could go on and on and on. And then, of course, they win, and, I'm friendly with the owner, Eddie DeBartolo, and then here you go with and now they win this. And we're on the field. I mean, the catch, and it's so now the game ends. Now, to do a stand-up, you got one shot to your overrun. One. You can try another one, but it ain't. First of all, the cameraman's carrying a heavy pack, and the wire is. People can get hurt, actually, if you let every. Here they come. And we run out. It's about 8 seconds to 8. Ready? 3. We got one shot, so that was under pressure.
Yeah.
So I was a young kid. I delivered, but then again, Joe Montana and Dwight Clark delivered a little better than that. Still remains an iconic game.
It does.
It just.
And the fact
And it was
Tom
the
Brady
start
was
of their.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's the
everything.
start of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the Tuck game was the start of the Patriots.
Yeah.
And look what they did with it for 20 years. The catch was the start of 15 years.
Yeah.
It just, you didn't know it. I played the Bengals.
I love that clip. It's the
Well, you one
roll
shot.
it again. One shot. And you got to think about it every time you watch it. Like, wow, we nailed it in that one shot.
Well, no one's thinking about that, but I am. Like,
Yeah.
I would have got my cameraman hurt. You know, we remember and Dwight, who passed of ALS a couple years ago, became, of all those guys, my best friend of that group, other than the owner, Eddie DeBartolo. They became all my. And it's just interesting how and when the last night at Candlestick, we ran. Dwight and I resurrected it.
That's awesome.
I mean, I threw it. Actually, he jumped, and it was December of 2013. It was a Monday night game, pregame. We got to do it one last time.
That's amazing.
So you mentioned the modern era and the Super Bowl that we've got coming up here in a week and a half. What's the Swam predicting for the Super Bowl?
Well, as we sit, and you guys let me pass so far, so I'll throw it out so I know I'm immune from it. You know what day this is?
It's Groundhog's Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give you that little pop.
2:22.
Yeah.
So now I'm good, right? Like,
Yes. There you go. That was smart.
You can't write this stuff. Actually, it's almost written like your guys' fastest 2 minutes. Like, the Chris Boswell, New Mexico. Oh my God, nobody knows about Roswell, New Mexico. Little green guys. But so as we sit, this is on Groundhog's Day. So I'm not dodging because we talked about it before.
We're not holding
this
you
is a
to
Super Bowl. I didn't think.
Yeah, I don't think
I
anyone
didn't
did.
count on this one, which is fine. I mean, the Bengals earned every bit of it, but if you really want to get into it, I mean, I'm very close with the Chiefs and the Bills. So we had as great a playoff game as we've ever seen 2 weeks ago with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and nobody made a mistake. And you got to be, the record will show 13 seconds, but that they both took the lead twice in the I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
The only playoff game I could think of that was not the catch, because there was like 8 turnovers in that game. It was great excitement. But I don't go exciting. You're talking about a great game. I go to San Diego at Miami in 81, 40 years ago.
Kellen Winslow?
Overtime, the Winslow carried off. That's the only one. And by the way, San Diego, who won it, lost to Cincinnati the next week. So maybe that's the problem.
Ooh.
So here's Kansas City, did all that to beat Buffalo, and then they laid that egg in the second half. Give the Bengals full props. I mean, whatever they did. Patrick Mahomes, this is Wednesday. I'm pretty close with them. I don't know what that was yet.
Yeah.
It was some team I don't recognize. And that's give Cincy credit. So I'm not dodging because who's to say they can't win?
Yeah.
One thing that Coach Reed told me in the middle of the week going into that game, said, do you think, even though they've beaten you before, and so they're confident, that the moment could be all of a sudden they're down in the third quarter? I posed this to him. Down in the third quarter, and I didn't predict down 21-3 or whatever, or 21-10, what have you. And they look around and the moment becomes a little big for him. He was quick to say, all those guys that won national championships on that team, and not only the quarterback and the receiver, but a lot of others who have played in, if we're counting on that, we're in trouble. They told me this in the middle of the week.
Wow.
Now, I mean, that was not an XO thing. That was just a conversation. He didn't count on it. I don't know. I don't know what happened. So the Bengals, are we just missing the boat?
Yeah.
I
4
think
points, too.
we keep
Well,
thinking
but
that
you pick the winner.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Right.
But guys
Spreads
like us,
haven't-
once we figure that out, it's over.
Right,
Once
that's
anyone
true.
figures anything out with gambling, it all comes back against
Right.
you.
What we're talking about is until the Rams won but didn't cover, every other playoff game was just pick the winner.
Yep.
In other words, if the 49ers won, they're an underdog.
Easier
against
said than
Dallas,
done.
Right?
Yeah. Just
If
pick winners.
Cincinnati won those games, they're an underdog. You
Yeah.
take but you throw the spreads out. So, but given that the playoffs we've had, so at 4, you'd think, well, it's got to be a field goal game, doesn't it? Isn't that the way you would? And you would hope so. After of course, the first round of the playoffs were awful.
Yeah.
There were a lot of teams that shouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
You
The
know.
seven playoff teams. What's the best bet you've ever won?
Well,
Because I love that you all. I mean, now we're obviously
I got two of them.
gambling is big and everyone talks, but you were
prediction. We're
one
not
of those
even
guys.
talking about
yeah,
because first mortgage, I was done doing that.
yeah.
So I don't mind saying 83 mortgage. I make my picks. I make my 5 picks on TV. I live and die with them. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I live and die with them.
Sure.
Because I want people to do.
Yeah.
So that 81 season, I was on the Bengals who were 6-10 and the 49ers who were 6-10, like all year. So I was like 68% because I have 5 picks: Cincinnati, San Francisco. Now let me think of 3 more. But that was just. I've had other years when it's been horrible. There's been a couple of funny ones. Like Mort always says, it always works out at the end. When you bring the ball to the game, you make the rules. So there was one year. But then I'll give you the greatest one ever, which is my walk-off Swami pick by accident. There was one. It's one of the great football games. I was 12 under 500, whatever it is going into the last week of the season. 93? And Cowboys at Giants. Big game. It was the Emmitt Smith game with the shoulder, and he ran for 180 yards. So it's a famous game, as it turns out. So I'm picking one game, and it's worth 13. And
Yes.
you can't do that.
Yes.
Well, no. If I lose, I'm 25 under. I'm putting it up. Don't worry.
Yes.
But it's worth a 13-star special.
Yes.
Okay? And I said 16-13 Dallas, which was the score.
Wow.
And so nobody in the building, now I'm doing it off the top of my head. I don't think it was 1916. I think it was 16-13. If I'm wrong, it's one of the two, but I'm saying 16. It's a long time ago. Overtime, score. Emmett's great game. Like, don't talk to me. I'm 1 over. And then we go on to the playoffs. And then the other one was my finals. So in 2016, when I was, changing what I was doing. So the final ended up being New England and Atlanta. That's Super Bowl. My pick in the Super Bowl, not the score, had New England by 6. Now, I'd be lying if I said, they're going to trail 28-3. They're going to go to overtime, and they're going to win
You
by
had a
6.
read on that game,
I didn't
yeah.
have that. But the final was New England by 6. It's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not making another pick.
You nailed it.
I'm done.
That's got to be the best one of all time.
It is. That's right. I got to that. But the Emmett one I remembered. I took such flack in the build. You can't do that. I can do whatever I want.
13
Yeah.
It's my
star
segment.
special.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
your show. It's
Yeah.
your podcast.
Yeah.
You want to do it? Go ahead.
Did you ever?
I have 3 game of the years already, and we're only in February. I mean, it's true. I'm 3-0.
You
Game of
gotta-
the year.
You got to have 3 games.
Yeah.
And you got another one.
People
Maybe.
are like, how do you have this many game of the years? It's like, well, I keep seeing games that are game of the years.
Especially when you win it.
3-0. What are you going
You
to do?
win it. You do it. It's your ball. You brought it.
Exactly.
Did you ever happen to run into Hunter S. Thompson back in the 70s, 80s? Because
No.
he was another big gambler. I know he was tight with Al Davis back then.
Well, Pete Axthum, who we work with, was Hunter Thompson's buddy. But no, I don't think I met him back then. I mean, all that stuff was legendary. They all were, the New York gin mills and the Jimmy the Greek Circle and I didn't. I mean, they ran an interesting life. I was not yet. Remember, we're up here. We're 2 hours away from New York. You didn't go in and do whatever and then try to make your way home. So the answer is no. It would have been interesting, though.
Yeah, for sure. That would have been an all-time hang, I would imagine.
And Pete would have been there, work with us. Pete Axtham was like Jimmy the Greek on NBC. I mean, Pete was brilliant. He was with us our first years in prime time and countdown. Or game day, we called it then.
Yeah. One thing I wrote down that I have to bring up, we're a big fan of yours all around, big fan of your golf game as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Love the wide brim hats. Has anybody ever told you, like, maybe don't wear a gray shirt when you're going to be out in the 95-degree sun?
Colorful shirt.
Yeah.
Sweating, I sweated at 12. Okay, so I sweated a long time ago before I was, I'm better. I lost a lot of weight now, but I mean, again, it's the Titanic losing a few deck chairs. So they're floating right out there right now. So gray, I never wear gray. No, it's always colorful. But I mean, if it's warm and hot, and you got a carnation shirt, or a nice sharp purple shirt. Mm-hmm. Look, if you've ever come to my studio, which now I'm only, but back in the day, 3 hours, countdown. Even in September, the camera people had to wear a jacket. You can hang meat in there.
Yeah,
because I sweat in an igloo.
Yeah,
okay.
I run pretty hot too.
Good,
after I do
good
a show,
shirts.
Yeah,
Hawaiian shirts.
Shirt for it.
Yeah,
hide a lot of stuff.
Yes, they do. It's like a magic eye poster.
Black, and that would be
black,
rough.
Always, but I wear black shirts.
Well, right, but not on a golf course when it's 88.
Yes. Can we tell you something funny that you probably have no idea about? That's a very weird. You're gonna think we're stalkers. Your suit cleaner in Connecticut, had a signed poster of
Is it the Grid Father?
We have that in our studio. He gave it to us.
I can send you as many as you want.
We have that one from your dry cleaner.
No
because his son is a huge fan of ours.
Very funny.
And he said, I've had this. My dad's done the Schwam suits for 30 years. I want you guys to have it. It's sitting in our studio.
That's
it's
very
up.
Funny.
Every single time you come in, it's right there.
I have plenty of them. They supposed to print 400 20 years ago, and there's 4,000, so I haven't gotten rid of all those.
Okay,
so they're in the basement.
But that guy, your dry cleaner's got
the Grid Father. We made it look with there's even a knuckle ring. There's everything.
Incredible.
It's Pacino-ish.
Yeah, but your dry cleaner, he's probably had to do some work with the sweat.
Oh yeah, and some was like, just sorry, I tried my best.
We did everything we could.
Yeah,
they don't make that.
Gotta say goodbye.
They don't make that gets rid of that.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, sit you down and just be like, listen. That
Some
suit
just
not going to make
I
it.
sweat through
run
these
hot,
when you're on the air 3 hours tie.
We did
and
everything.
the air isn't running right.
The
And
lights. Yeah.
The TV. Like I told Tommy. I told everyone I've ever worked with. You got to play with pain in TV. And be like, we played 14 years at linebacker. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
did a podcast one time with a broken foot, and Big Cat got bit by a dog.
Right in the
We still did a full show.
Look. It's game day.
Yeah.
Can you go?
And the lights are on. We're going.
Smelling
Murder
salts?
injured.
Take it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All
Good.
those things.
We're not taking you into the tent.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're cleared.
Let's go.
You got to go.
All right. So this has been incredible. We got to wrap. I mean, we don't want to take your entire life here, but we got to do your best nicknames. What are your best nicknames? What are the ones that you at the end of the day, it's like, oh, that one, because we have some of yours that we.
Oh,
love.
I want to hear those, but. So are we going football? All right.
Whatever you want to do.
Well, we'll do football last because that's kind of. I mean, so baseball. A lot of them now will predate even so much you guys because I'm going to the ones that because the '80s I did 10 sports centers a week. We all did. Bob Lee did. Tommy Mees did. John Saunders. Today's John's birthday. We lost him 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Great. We could go on and on. All the guys. We did 10 shows a week. Doesn't make us heroes, but hey, we're a network, but we have 1/4 of the staff. So you okay to do the next show? Well, I did the list. Yeah, we got another one. Go ahead. So did baseball all the time. So the best, I'll go right to that. Bert Blyleven, because that's Be Home Blyleven.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to see a lot of these nicknames are you don't have to know A, he's a pitcher, B, he pitches for the Twins or the Pirates or whoever, C, he has a curveball who got him into the Hall of Fame. You are a kid and you heard from your parents, Be Home Blyleven, and as a parent you've told your kid, Be Home Blyleven. You don't have to be a genius to figure these out.
Right.
So that's probably the best. I mean, the early ones, baseball, Jose, Can You See Cruz? Julio, Won't You Let Me Take You on a Sea Cruise? A lot of them were from rock and roll. Vaughn, Purple Haze. A couple that stuck, and I just saw him last month. Crime Dog McGriff.
Yeah.
That stuck with him. Doggy. Like every player calls him Doggy. He loves, he's such a good guy. Certainly borderline Hall of Famer. Didn't touch a thing, and he hit almost 500 home runs, by the way. But
Chuck Knoblock's one of my
New
favorites.
Kids on Knoblock. Yeah, and he liked it too, even when he didn't make the throw correctly.
Yep.
Now I'm Roberto, remember the Alomar, that history major.
Yep.
You know
I
what
love that one.
I mean, food. There was a movie, Blame It On, or not food, but George Taco Bell. I mean, like that with Toronto. Like food. Everyone knows what Taco Bell is. You don't have to know he plays for Toronto. That's the best part of him. And it's, did I really hear that? And even if I get a chuckle out of him, that's even more so. What do you have baseball?
So one of my favorite baseball ones is Miguel Tejada.
Very good. See, I don't forget these.
Yeah,
How
it was
did they
Miguel.
come? To how did they fall?
Yes.
Right?
The best.
I mean, we are right. Jimmy Cliff.
The best.
Oh man, so I'm going too far back. I'm trying to think of.
Well, we can go to football too. Football's
Football's a
incredible.
ton.
Yeah.
So football, the best ones are those you can deliver under the highlights. You can sing with them. We've resurrected Lito Shepherd this year with Debo, you know, which is Boss Skaggs. Debo, whoa, it's the Lito Shuffle, one of the great wind-up songs of all time. We used to do it for Lito Shepherd, defensive back, Philadelphia. The GM of the Niners, John Lynch, texted me like a month ago. Debo, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, you know, and I've known Lynchy since he played, of course. But so when Steve Bono would go back to pass and complete it, you could go, do, 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 I got you, babe, on a completion, right?
Yeah.
You could go, so Elvis Gerback. Again, these are all, but there are plenty right now. If Elvis went back and was going to be sacked, caught in a trap, you know? Okay. Mark Bulger, remember him with the Rams?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the Scarecrow. Ray Bulger, right? So he'd go back to if I could only find a receiver, you know. And then the kickers had a lot of them,
Yep.
including David Greenacres. And at the Vet, they used to play the theme from the TV set. But this is old. So now, and a guy that should be a head coach is Eric Sleeping with Bieniemy.
Yep.
You know, like
Incredible
he
one.
should be, and that was really Curtis. My favorite, Martin. Martian was a TV show. Obscure. Good for this audience. Do you remember Steelers, primarily fullback, Chris Mafala?
Yes.
Fuamatu Mafala.
Yes.
We called him Chris Fuamatu Bad Mafala. And then Tommy would chime in, because that came out of Shaft. It was like, you know, can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yeah.
Like,
Shut your mouth.
We
But those
throw
are-
those in too. We'll throw in like the Tej going back with the boom.
I know that.
Yeah.
I
You're
know
absolutely
he's
right,
nice.
Ben.
No, so now, see, okay, now.
I have. Yeah, we're missing a couple of my absolute
Well,
favorites. I know
now
PFT's
Joe,
got some
he's in the
favorites.
Super Bowl. Who's in the Super Bowl? So I'm going quickly. Joe Mixon match. It's okay. It's not great. It's okay. But I'm thinking it's Bengals.
I can give you one for the Bengals if
Go
you
ahead,
want.
please.
So Joe Burrow throws a pass to Jamar Chase. Burrow and Chase hide and seek. It works.
It's in. Hide and seek.
Hide and seek. Or you could go. What do we do for Joe Burrow? Do we do like
January Joe.
All Systems Joe?
Yeah.
Which is what it is.
Think about it. Yeah.
Man, 2 years ago, he won the national title, and now he can win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
2 years ago, he sat in the box with us at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now he's playing it. He might win.
It's crazy.
It's on, good for him. But why am I? I mean, we have. Whoa. The Cuba Missile Crisis.
Yep. Cuba Missile
Trying to think
Crisis.
of this year.
Yeah.
There's a. Go ahead.
Well, I mean,
your
Jake
turn.
Delhomme.
Huh?
Jake Delhomme is one of my all-time favorites.
Daylight come and you got a Delhomme.
Yeah,
you got
that's
Delhomme, right?
that one's, and then John Kitna was my other favorite that you
Well,
always do.
yeah, with go ahead, Kitna Caboodle.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I mean, I hadn't thought of him in a while.
Yeah, I know.
But that's
I love those.
Look, a lot of them, a lot of the kickers. And I
think it was with Jeff Philadelphia Fiegels,
Yeah,
which
well,
is like
that's one of
so.
them.
It's so easy, but it's just so funny to say because he's playing for the Giants, and you're like Jeff
I know
Philadelphia
it didn't.
Fiegels.
But when they work, when they're from where they're from,
Yeah.
like Royce Clayton was a shortstop with the Giants. Royce Aroni Clayton,
Mm-hmm.
the San Francisco Treat. But Jeff, not Fiegels, Jay Feely, who TV now.
Yeah.
So I would do the Who for that one on long ones. See me, Feely, and you like to sing, right? You sung the anthem or something.
Yeah, when we do our boxing. Yeah.
That's a hard song.
It is.
I can sing. I was set to do it, and the Whalers naturally, the last week of their final season here in '97, down their leg the last 2 or 3. They were going to make the playoffs, and lose to somebody in the opening round, but they were going to get in. And I had to deal with the general manager, Jim Rutherford. Not the national anthem. I'm okay singing. I'm okay. As Huey Lewis told me, as a golfer, Boomer, you're a 15. As a singer, you're a 6, So I was going to sing "Oh Canada." That you can get to. That range is different in English and French. But they didn't make it.
Yeah. I did "Oh Canada" in Providence when we did a rough and rowdy, our pay-per-view boxing.
How'd it go?
Everyone just started booing and I started laughing.
Why?
Because
Canadians
it was
Bruins.
it was a Canadian. Our main event was a Canadian versus an American. So I start singing it and everyone starts booing because everyone's revved up and drunk, and I just started laughing hysterically and I couldn't finish the whole thing. It was such a scene.
You can do it. Go. You guys probably don't even know it. One of the best. So the old gentleman that used to sing "Oh Canada" at the Montreal Forum, Roger Doucette, is gone. Have you ever seen this on video? You need to find it.
Okay.
So they would wheel him out at the biggest games, silver hair, tuxedo, some of the great games when the Guy Lafleur was playing, and before that, but in the 70s, you can find it, like 35 seconds. You wanted to charge through through customs. Roger Doucette, and in English and French it was man at the Forum. Again, bow tie, tux, silver hair. It's like Kate Smith back in the day, singing "God Bless America" for the Flyers. But it was better because it was Montreal.
Right.
No knock on Kate or the Flyers, but it's Montreal.
Yes.
I mean, it's hockey.
Yes.
Right?
We've seen you sing the second verse to "Take It Easy" before. Standing on the corner.
Yep.
Winslow, Arizona, such a fine sight to see. We do a recurring bit on our show.
Do you?
I don't know if you've heard about this one, but as an homage to you, we just assumed, because we know that you're a big fan of classic rock, we see the Rod Stewart album come out every year in late September.
You're good, man. You've done a hell of a, yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's our life.
That's our life. We
You're
watch
saying that.
We
It was
watch
like,
football and highlights. I'm just
leaves are about to
repeating
turn. Yeah.
what I've seen. Late September is Maggie May comes out on the studio update desk, which I always love.
4.
Yep.
Week 4, yeah.
Week 3 was Don Henley, Boys of Summer.
Yep. So the first year we started to do this homage to you, actually, I tried to put that in week 3, and Big Cat goes, "It's too soon."
Yeah.
And he was like pushing back.
You gotta wait.
And he's right.
Seasons later.
Yeah.
Week 3 may be good now because we start late.
Yeah, it's true.
But we
You may
There's
be
a
okay.
feel to it. It's like it's right before the clocks and everything, and it's like, oh yeah, it's not.
It's late. You
Summer's
gotta be
gone.
late September.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta
gotta
really
be the
feel.
final September weekend.
Yeah, your
That's
first
the one.
sweatshirt day. It's like, oh, okay, it's
Yeah,
football.
No, it's late. No, and it's funny because I realized when I bring this album out that a lot of people a little younger than you don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
What is this? Well, I have 400 of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Is it the same album that you bring out every time?
Yes, it's always every picture tells a story. Rod Stewart. I mean,
But is it
Maggie May is on that album.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same
Had it from
physical
college.
album that you've had.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I mean,
That's awesome.
I had it at college. I played the wax off it. In college. Maggie May.
Yeah.
I mean, my
Yeah.
God.
The best.
the intro to that song that'll wake you up. That's a feel good song.
It's a great. Now the Eagles. So Glenn Fry he passed. A great friend of mine. And we did 2 Super Bowl Swamis. He joined me for one of them, the one in San Diego when the Broncos broke that long winning streak of the NFC, like 12 or 13 or 11 in a row, whatever it was, and they beat the Packers. But we did it in front of the Hotel Coronado, San Diego, which is famous, and we did it at the Hotel California. And he's dressed as a bellman who comes out, like I start to, I quote every line of the song, like, my mind is Tiffany twisted. I can't pick the winner or whatever. And he goes, Chris, what do you do? He comes out singing, welcome to the Glenn Fry, what are you doing here? He goes, I live here. What are you doing here? And then we went on and on and on. And yeah, no, singing is okay. I mean,
It's good. I've heard you sing that second verse before. We do the Standing on the Corner as a tribute to Jameis Winston every week. We say Jameis Winston down in NOLA is what we did this year.
It used to be Jameis Winston, Tampa, Florida, and then he got traded. So hopefully he's.
Well, who knows
He
where
goes.
he'll
Yeah,
be.
I know. We might be
A
screwed.
song is a song, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's on
matter.
stage.
You still get a chance to sing.
Yes.
Take it easy.
Yes,
The
yes.
song that put the Eagles on the map.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and you got decent voice. We heard you sing on stage.
Okay.
I don't know if it might not have been with the Eagles. It was maybe with a cover band. You probably didn't even know that you were being taped, but some sicko out there was videotaping you singing it, and they sent it to us because
Hawaii right before, probably in Hawaii. But we said when Glenn passed away, Huey and the news when they could tour a few years ago came through here about Connecticut about 2 months later, and I said, Huey, he's a friend of both of ours. Can you guys work up Take It Easy? Because Huey always would call me up, and I'd sing a song. He's nice enough to let me do it, Walking on a Thin Line, that is not taking it from, it's an add-on. Nobody wants to hear me sing The Power of Love or, or anything like that, the heart of rock and roll. But we would, so I sang, one is with Huey Lewis and the News. You can find that on YouTube. It's somebody shot on their phone. It wasn't any professionally, they worked it up, and I forgot about it. He called me that afternoon. You going to come over for, we're going to work up Take It Easy. Like, you didn't forget. Yeah. We practiced once. It's always, he calls me for an encore so that at least you've had a few beers by then, and not too many, but a few.
yeah.
And then I'm okay, but one and out.
Nobody
needs to see me throw 50 passes a game. Nobody needs to do that.
What's your all-time favorite band?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
This job has allowed me to be friends with somebody like Glenn Fry. Bob Seger is a very good friend because they're sports fans. Yeah, so that would be Bob Seger. Silver Bullet would be way up there. But if you're asking me a rock and roll question, I'd have to give it to the Stones. I just think I would because they're still doing it, or they were.
Yeah.
And the songs from the 60s, they still could come out today.
Yeah.
They're Under My Thumb.
Dead Flowers is one of my favorite songs ever.
The ones from the 60s, let alone 70s, 80s. So if you're asking me a rock and roll honest question, it would have to be the Stones. Do I know that? I met Mick, a few minutes, but Bob Seger and Huey Lewis and there's the others, Stephen Stills. Like it's really cool that, and what you guys are finding. Yes, you have your hardcore audience that sports and all, but you meet people from all over America, Canada, etc., white, black, old, young, who like, hey, we're football fans, for example. And sports has allowed me and us to meet you guys.
Football
frankly.
fans. You like football. We like football.
You like football?
I like football.
No, we like football.
I like football.
I like football.
Let's have a meal. What do you
You want to talk
It's
football?
a perfect ending.
You want to talk football?
Some spread.
From a commercial. Howie Long, every time I see him, he says some spread. God, I tell you what, if I ever need to be refreshed, I'm 66 now. Don't ask me what I had for breakfast.
Yeah.
I could tell you what happened in the catch 40 years ago, but don't ask me if I had an egg or a cereal today for breakfast. But if I forget some details of my career,
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, we got you.
We're Wikipedia
I know where
for
to
Chris
call
Berman.
now.
Yeah.
damn. This has been, look, I appreciate that more than anything. You guys are not forget me, fans of football, and you have. I don't want to equate cable in 79 and 80 to the podcast business, but your first one was what?
2016.
Yeah.
Was podcast like maybe that was the first year-ish
Well,
of them?
Podcast started in about like 2010, 2011.
But
is
no
when
one knew what they
No one
were.
really did too many of them. We had a few guys. KFC at Barstool started back in 2012.
Yeah, it was on that one.
Yeah. So, but we started in 2016, and it was we were at the right place at the right time. So we caught that wave. We had a little bit of help from ESPN, who sent us a cease and desist letter after our first episode.
These things happen.
But then we
I
just
thought it didn't get lost in the mail?
no. Well, we ended up using that to cease and desist them back, saying you need to cease and desisting us, and then that obviously it got more eyeballs on our podcast. So indirectly, I guess they call that the Streisand effect.
Yeah.
But things were very fortunate for us at that time.
Well, right place at right time. See, so I was thinking about it knowing I was coming out like a month ago, and then we had this is great. That I don't want to equate podcast with cable TV, but in some ways it is. Like you didn't know. You thought you guys had a good show. That's your job with your crew. Let's put a good show together, right? Every week. And do we hit a home run every week, every 2 days? Not necessarily, but it was every painting a Rembrandt.
Right.
Some are finger paintings, right? Not really good, but bring the energy, bring the knowledge, and my point is, you guys took something that may not have taken off. And I respect that because that's kind of what we lived 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's really pretty cool.
Our mindset is like, if we can make each other laugh and have fun doing the show, then to us that feels like a good show. And hopefully other people out there will kind of find the same things that we find funny to be funny for them.
I agree. Now, the only thing I did bring, and I'm surprised you're not going with it. I mean, I'm supposed to at least Hawaiian shirt. I'm not going to change.
Yeah, the
your-
shades.
I gotta say, I took the shades off for you.
Ultimate sign of respect that he didn't have the shades.
Yeah,
on.
very much. There we
No,
go.
and I knew that.
I wanted to look you in the eye during this episode.
No, I first of all, Hawaiian shirt shades. I got it.
Yeah.
I'm
Don't
with
worry.
you. Rock. All
This
right.
is a good look. This is a good look. I love it.
But I meant to start with it, and then we went to the wallet, and all,
Yeah, the
and
wallet
then
had to do
everything
it.
went downhill from there on.
Yeah,
So-
this has been
You
great.
guys are
Yes.
totally respectful, and I appreciate how hard you work. Not this show, but I mean this particular. But I mean how hard you work in putting it together. Like you and your listeners and your viewers respect it, but now they expect it.
Yeah.
And you
Yes.
expect it of yourself.
Yes.
It don't come easy, Ringo
Yeah.
Starr.
Yeah.
I got one last question for you. Just kind of looking towards the future. What's next for Boom? Where do you see the next 5, 10 years? Are you gonna be happy if you retire, getting off TV? Are you gonna feel that itch? Do you want to be in front of the camera?
Which is why I full-time ended it at the end of 16, but the next 2 years I was around, because kind of, I'm not George Washington. Maybe I'm Abe Lincoln. More like Teddy Roosevelt. That seems more likely. But
I think you could get shot during a show and still finish it.
Well, well, yeah.
Hopefully,
I
we'll
would
never
try.
find out. Yeah.
I would try, to your point. But then this reinvention of primetime on Plus, I know it's Plus, and I'm not knocking Plus, but we don't have the rights to do it anywhere else. I sold that. I talked to our president, Jimmy Patera. Do you think we could get rights to this? Because I want to do that. So where I'm at now, I got 1 year left of it, but that'll be 68. I certainly see me doing it to 70 if they'll have me. And then we'll see. I mean, but yeah, there would be an itch. Prime time has scratched the itch, because it gives me excuse. I could call my friends in the league anytime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coaches, not so much players, some, but you're doing the show. There's a reason, and they know you're doing it, and you're on at half. And then ESPN put the halftime highlights back on a year ago, which I taped Sunday night, which is why the Sunday night game's not in there. But I mean, not even the Swami can predict what's going to happen on, Sunday night. But that's it. I'm in a good place like that, because 42 years, not like, I'm so tired. Tell that to somebody in a coal mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's a good question. And I thought I was kind of done, but this has been reinvigorating, by able to do prime time and the halftime but then during the week, if I want to go do something, I'm good.
Yeah.
So you'll have me to kick around for a few more years. If they'll have me after one more, we'll see. It's up
I love
to
it.
them.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
They could send me that letter, and I don't.
I doubt that.
Yeah, no way. So
Well, you never know.
We riot if
Yeah,
they send you that
yeah.
letter. We will storm. We'll treat Bristol like it's the Capitol on January 6th. I'll line up outside and tear the damn gates down if they throw
We'll
you
get
out.
it solved before it comes to
Yes,
that.
okay.
Thank
Yes.
you. You guys have been as loyal as. I mean, my goodness. I need you in my backfield.
Yeah.
Or
We got you.
the fullback.
yeah, we got you. But it's been pleasure has been all ours. So thank you so much, Chris Berman, Boomer, the Schwam, absolute legend. We appreciate it.
Le Grand Chat, Le Raconteur, merci.
There, yeah.
That's beautiful.